Hello and welcome to the garage where I recently pulled the transmission out of my E39. Here's how I did it. So we'll jack it up so we can work on it, fit underneath it. And disconnect the battery. First thing I wanted to do was to see if I could get the header nuts off. They were the rustiest part underneath, and I wanted to see if I could do it without breaking them. Everything seems to have gone pretty well. Continue with the exhaust removal. This mount underneath bolts from the side, so I thought it'd be easier to slip it out. Looking back, I probably should have just unbolted it with a ratcheting wrench. The heavy muffler. Next up is the heat shields. Next I went for the electrical connector and the shift linkage. There is another electrical connector on the back of the transmission I forgot about until I had it hanging down. Notice the block of wood I have between the oil pan and the subframe. I also have a block resting on top of the subframe between the oil pan to support the engine when the transmission's removed. Next, I got this exhaust bracket out of the way. Not sure if this part needs to be done or not, but I disconnected the sway bar links to swing the sway bar up and give myself a little bit more room for the transmission to drop. Working on these bottom mounts. Next, I supported the transmission with a jack so I could remove the mount and get to the drive shaft. Drive shaft removal. Should have used a ratchet with a long extension at the beginning, but I figured that out on the third bolt. This carrier bearing is glued up to the frame of the car. So here I'm removing the lines for the transmission cooler. Then it's time to unbolt the transmission mounts from the engine. Some of these were really tight, and I ended up doing a bunch from the top side that I didn't get on film. There's 3 bolts that hold the torque converter on, and they can be gotten through this access hole in the backside of the transmission. And here's the mounts I got from the top side, and these ones were from the bottom. This is where I went in from the top, and I used a cheater bar. thought I had everything loose and the transmission should come right out. It came loose. I ended up the starter motor was stuck on the pin from the top side, so I got that loose, and it still didn't want to come loose. Fought with it for a little bit and eventually dropped the transmission on the ground. It wasn't the prettiest. There it is, transmission removed. Turns out I forgot a bolt in that little sheet metal plate that goes between the engine and transmission. This bolt right here, and I ripped it out from the back of the engine, as you can see. Thanks for watching, and feel free to click the subscribe and stay tuned for my transmission install video once I get my parts.